The lady's secret love, when the blacksmith captured a countess's heart. Steel sang against steel as the hammer fell, each strike sending a cascade of golden sparks into the dimly lit forge where Countess Sophia Davenport stood transfixed, watching the broad-shouldered blacksmith work his craft with a precision that belied his humble station. The year was 1814, and England was celebrating the end of Napoleon's first exile to Elba, though whispers of his potential return kept the aristocracy on edge. None of this mattered to Sophia in this moment, captivated as she was by the rhythmic movements of a man who had no business capturing her attention, let alone her heart. "Your horse will be ready by tomorrow morning, my lady," said James Whitley without looking up from his work, seemingly unaware of how the firelight caught in his dark hair or how his forearms flexed with each powerful swing. "The shoe was worse off than I initially thought." Sophia cleared her throat, remembering herself. "That will be acceptable, Mr. Whitley. I shall send a stable boy to collect Artemis then." "As you wish." He finally glanced up, and the directness of his gaze made her breath catch. No man of proper breeding would dare look at a countess so boldly, with such frank appraisal. The corners of his mouth turned upward slightly. "Though I'd be happy to deliver the mare personally to Davenport Hall. Ensure she's walking properly." "That won't be necessary," Sophia said quickly, though the thought of him appearing at her father's estate sent an unexpected thrill through her. "Good day, Mr. Whitley." Outside, her lady's maid Elizabeth waited with obvious relief. "My lady, we really shouldn't linger in this part of town. What would your father say?" "My father would say a great many things, none of which I care to hear," Sophia replied, adjusting her gloves. At 24, she had already outlasted 3 London seasons, much to the Earl of Westmoreland's dismay. Her father had made it abundantly clear that this coming season would be her last chance to secure a suitable match before he selected one for her. The thought followed her like a shadow as their carriage wound through the narrow streets of the market town of Northwich, Cheshire, where her father's country estate sprawled across the surrounding hills. Here, 50 miles from Manchester's growing industrial chaos, the world still moved at a gentler pace, though not for the likes of James Whitley, whose forge smoke she could still smell in her hair. "That blacksmith," Elizabeth remarked as they passed the town square. "They say he fought at Waterloo. Came back with a medal and enough coin to buy old Ferguson's forge. A soldier." Sophia hadn't known this, though it explained the jagged scar that ran along his forearm and the watchful way he carried himself. "A lieutenant, apparently. Though what good that does him now." Elizabeth shrugged. "Once a tradesman, always a tradesman." The words echoed in Sophia's mind that evening as she sat through another interminable dinner with her father and his latest political allies. Lord Davenport was in high spirits, discussing the upcoming London season with Lady Harrington, whose son, a viscount with thinning hair and a substantial waistline, was seated beside Sophia, speaking at length about his horse breeding program. "And what are your interests, Lady Sophia?" Viscount Harrington finally asked, after 20 minutes of equine genealogy. Sophia considered her answer carefully. "I enjoy poetry, astronomy, and recently have developed a curiosity about metallurgy." "Metallurgy?" The Viscount's bushy eyebrows rose in confusion. "Yes, the science of metals. Their properties, uses, the way heat transforms them." She smiled pleasantly, ignoring her father's warning glance from across the table. "I find the entire process quite fascinating." Later that night, her father summoned her to his study. Lord Davenport's imposing figure stood before the fireplace, his gray hair and aristocratic features severe in the flickering light. "Metallurgy?" he demanded without preamble. "What game are you playing, Sophia?" "No game, father. Merely an interest." "An interest that coincidentally arose after your 3rd visit to that blacksmith in town." When she didn't answer, he continued, "Yes, I know about your excursions. Did you think your wanderings would go unnoticed? You are the daughter of an earl. Your reputation is intact," she finished firmly. "I went to see about Artemis's shoe, nothing more. 3 times. He shook his head. "I've indulged your independent nature, Sophia, but this behavior must stop. You will be in London in 2 weeks' time, and by summer's end, you will be engaged to a man of suitable standing." "And if I refuse?" Her father's expression hardened. "Then you will find your allowance ceased and your position in this household quite altered. I've been patient, but my patience has limits. You are 24, not 18. It's time you accepted your responsibilities. He dismissed her with a wave, and Sophia returned to her chambers, her mind churning with frustration. Through her window, she could see the distant glow of the town's lights, and somewhere among them, the forge where James Whitley might still be working, unburdened by the constraints of nobility. The next morning, ignoring her father's directive, Sophia rode Artemis into town alone, ostensibly to visit the milliner, but with every intention of passing by the blacksmith's forge. She found James outside, demonstrating to a young boy how to properly hold tongs. "Countess," he said, straightening as she approached. The boy scurried away. "Your mare seems to be walking well." "She is, thank you." Sophia remained atop her horse, aware of the distance this maintained between them both physically and socially. "I understand you served at Waterloo." If her directness surprised him, he didn't show it. "I did, though I prefer not to dwell on those days. Yet you returned and chose this life, when surely your rank could have secured you a different position." A shadow crossed his face. "Some men are not meant for drawing rooms and polite conversation, my lady. I prefer honest work where I can see what I've created with my own hands." He gestured to the forge behind him. "Would you like to see?" Against her better judgment, Sophia dismounted. "I would, actually." Inside, the forge was an organized chaos of tools, half-finished projects, and raw materials. James moved through the space with easy confidence, showing her the different metals he worked with, explaining the process of heating and shaping. "This is a ceremonial sword I'm crafting for a naval captain," he said, lifting a partially completed blade. "The balance must be perfect, functional, yet beautiful." He handed it to her, and Sophia was surprised by its weight. "It's heavier than I expected. Most things worth having are." His eyes met hers, and for a moment, neither spoke. Then, as if remembering himself, he turned away. "I shouldn't keep you, my lady. People will talk." "People always talk, Mr. Whitley." But she knew he was right. "Thank you for the demonstration." As she left, a plan began forming in her mind, reckless, perhaps, but no more so than the prospect of marrying a man she couldn't respect simply to satisfy her father's ambitions. Over the next week, before her departure for London, Sophia managed 3 more visits to the forge, each under increasingly thin pretexts. She learned that James had risen from humble beginnings in Manchester, that his father had been a mill worker who died young, that his military service had been both a way out and a way up. He spoke little of the war itself, but the way his hands sometimes stilled when distant memories caught him told her enough. For his part, James seemed both bemused and intrigued by her interest, maintaining a careful respectfulness that nonetheless couldn't entirely mask the growing warmth in his eyes when she appeared at his door. During her 3rd visit, as he showed her how to temper a small piece of metal, their hands touched briefly, and Sophia felt a jolt that had nothing to do with the heat of the forge. "You should be careful," he said quietly. "Fire has a way of marking what it touches." "Some marks are worth bearing," she replied, holding his gaze. The moment was broken by the arrival of a customer, and Sophia took her leave, aware that she was treading dangerous ground. That evening, as her maid packed the last of her trunks for London, she made a decision. Under cover of darkness, with only Elizabeth as her reluctant accomplice, Sophia slipped from Davenport Hall and made her way to the small cottage behind James's forge. When he opened the door, surprise quickly gave way to concern. "My lady, you can't be here." "I know." She stepped inside anyway, her heart pounding. "But I leave for London tomorrow, and there are things I needed to say." The cottage was simple but neat, with books lining one wall, evidence of a mind that sought more than his daily labor provided. A single lamp cast long shadows as they stood facing each other. "I'm listening," he said, his voice low. "I'm expected to find a husband this season, a nobleman who will maintain my family's standing and provide suitable heirs." The words tasted bitter. "I've resisted for years, but my father has made it clear I no longer have a choice." James's expression remained carefully neutral. "That is the way of your world. A world I increasingly find suffocating." She took a step closer. "You spoke of honest work, of creating something real with your hands. What if I want something real too?" The tension between them was palpable, built over weeks of conversations and lingering glances. "Sophia," he said, using her given name for the first time, "you don't know what you're asking. Your world and mine don't meet, except in places like my forge, where you come as a curiosity and leave unchanged. Academy director Marcus Williams, himself a former club captain, implemented a standardized playing philosophy across all age groups, ensuring seamless progression from youth to senior football. This systematic approach to player development quickly gained recognition, with the Iron Forge Academy receiving elite category status from the Football Association in late 2024. The women's team, now firmly established in the Women's Super League, achieved their highest-ever league finish under the guidance of former England international Sarah Mitchell. In a groundbreaking move, the club announced that both men's and women's teams would share the main training facility on an equal basis, with identical access to medical and support staff. Commercial growth continued with the opening of the first international Iron Forge United retail store in Shanghai, reflecting the club's growing popularity in Asian markets. The 2025-26 season began with significant investment in the first team, including the club record signing of Brazilian midfielder Rafael Oliveira from Fluminense for £18 million. Oliveira's creative partnership with homegrown talent Jamie Crawford in midfield became the cornerstone of Mourinho's tactical setup, providing the platform for an exciting brand of football. The boardroom saw changes too, with local tech entrepreneur Sofia Rahman acquiring a 15% stake in the club, bringing fresh expertise in digital innovation and global marketing. Rahman's influence was immediately felt with the launch of an award-winning club app that featured augmented reality experiences at the Foundry Ground and real-time player performance data. Attendances continued to grow, with season ticket sales exceeding 20,000 for the first time in the club's history, necessitating plans for further stadium expansion. On the pitch, Iron Forge achieved promotion to the Premier League after finishing second in the championship, securing top-flight football for the first time in 8 years. The promotion campaign featured a record-breaking 14-match unbeaten run to finish the season, including a dramatic final-day victory secured by Academy graduate Tom Chin's 89th-minute winner. Chin's emergence as a first-team regular symbolized the success of the club's youth policy, with the technically gifted midfielder becoming the first British-Chinese player to represent Iron Forge United. The summer of 2026 saw the club prepare meticulously for Premier League football, with sporting director Julia Reeves orchestrating a careful recruitment strategy that balanced experience with potential. Rather than abandoning the principles that had earned promotion, the club reinforced its commitment to developing young players, with 5 academy graduates retained in the first-team squad. The club's return to the Premier League coincided with the completion of the Foundry Ground's East Stand redevelopment, increasing capacity to 32,000 while incorporating sustainable design features, including solar panels and rainwater harvesting systems. The stadium redevelopment earned the club a Sustainability in Sport Award, reflecting Chairman David Anderson's commitment to making Iron Forge United carbon neutral by 2030. Community engagement remained central to the club's identity, with the Iron Forge United Foundation expanding its activities to include mental health programs for local teenagers and digital literacy workshops for older residents. The foundation's work received royal recognition when Prince William visited its flagship community hub in the formerly derelict West Side Works building, praising the club's commitment to social responsibility. On the pitch, Iron Forge made a respectable start to Premier League life under Moreno, whose tactical acumen helped the team secure notable early-season victories against established top-flight sides. By Christmas 2026, the Maroon Titans had accumulated enough points to sit comfortably in mid-table, defying preseason predictions of an immediate return to the championship. Rafael Oliveira established himself as one of the Premier League's most creative midfielders, his performances attracting attention from elite European clubs despite his public declarations of loyalty to Iron Forge. The January transfer window saw the club reinforced defensively with the loan signing of experienced French center-back Jules Fontaine from Olympique Lyonnais, adding leadership to a relatively young backline. Fontaine's arrival coincided with a challenging fixture schedule, but his organizational abilities helped the team navigate a difficult period while maintaining their Premier League status. The club finished the 2026-27 season in 14th place, securing another year of top-flight football and the financial stability that came with it. Off the field, the club continued to innovate, becoming the first Premier League team to accept cryptocurrency payments for merchandise and hospitality packages. The 2027 summer transfer window demonstrated the club's growing pull, with the signing of U.S. international goalkeeper Madison Reynolds for the women's team, representing a major coup. Reynolds' arrival generated significant media attention in North America, opening new commercial opportunities that the club's marketing department skillfully leveraged. The men's team was strengthened with the permanent signing of Jules Fontaine and the addition of promising Ghanaian winger Kwame Asani from FC Porto. Elena Moreno's third full season in charge saw tactical refinements rather than wholesale changes, with the Spaniard focusing on improving the team's effectiveness in transition phases. The results were impressive, with Iron Forge establishing themselves as a difficult team to beat, particularly at the increasingly formidable Foundry Ground. A memorable highlight of the 2027-28 season came in December, when the team defeated Manchester United 2-1 at home, with Tom Chin scoring a spectacular long-range winner that went viral globally. The victory against United symbolized how far the club had come, with Moreno's possession-based approach allowing Iron Forge to go toe-to-toe with one of English football's traditional powerhouses. By the halfway point of the season, Iron Forge had accumulated enough points to sit in the top half of the table, prompting cautious talk of potential European qualification. January 2028 brought challenges when Rafael Oliveira suffered a serious knee injury that would sideline him for the remainder of the season. The loss of their creative fulcrum forced Moreno to adapt tactically, demonstrating her flexibility by shifting to a more counter-attacking approach that leveraged Kwame Asani's pace on the break. This tactical adjustment proved effective, with Iron Forge maintaining their position in the Premier League's top half despite Oliveira's absence. The final weeks of the season saw a tightly contested race for European places, with Iron Forge eventually finishing 8th, their highest league position since the early 1980s. While narrowly missing out on European qualification, the season was widely regarded as a tremendous success for a club still establishing itself in the Premier League. The summer of 2028 marked a significant moment in the club's commercial development with the announcement of a record-breaking kit manufacturing deal with Adidas, replacing the previous arrangement with a smaller sportswear brand. The Adidas partnership included provisions for bespoke kit designs that would honor the club's ironworking heritage, with the away kit featuring a distinctive pattern inspired by molten metal. Stadium developments continued with the installation of the country's first fully automated food and beverage ordering system, reducing queue times and increasing matchday revenue. The women's team, now established in the upper echelons of the WSL, reached the FA Cup final for the first time, narrowly losing to Chelsea in front of a record crowd at Wembley. Despite the defeat, the cup run represented tremendous progress and raised the profile of Iron Forge United Women significantly, with several players earning international call-ups. The men's team began the 2028-29 season with renewed ambition, strengthened by the return of Rafael Oliveira from injury and the club record signing of Dutch defender Sven van der Meer from Ajax. Van der Meer's ball-playing abilities complemented Moreno's philosophy perfectly, allowing the team to build attacks more effectively from deep positions. The early months of the season saw Iron Forge establish themselves as genuine contenders for European qualification, with a tactical maturity that impressed seasoned Premier League observers. A highlight came in the League Cup, where the team reached the quarterfinals before being eliminated by eventual winners Manchester City in a closely contested match. The January 2029 transfer window presented a challenge when Chinese giants Shanghai SIPG made a £40 million bid for Tom Chin, testing the club's resolve to retain their homegrown talent. After careful consideration and discussions with the player, the board rejected the offer, instead offering Chun an improved contract that reflected his importance to the team. Chin's decision to stay represented a watershed moment, signaling that Iron Forge could now retain their best players rather than being forced to sell by financial imperatives. The second half of the season saw the team maintain their impressive form, securing memorable victories against Arsenal and Liverpool that strengthened their position in the European qualification places. A late-season surge, featuring 4 consecutive wins, secured a 6th-place finish in qualification for the UEFA Conference League, the club's first European campaign since 1984. The achievement prompted joyous celebrations at the Foundry Ground on the final day of the season, with Chairman David Anderson joining fans on the pitch after the match. Elena Moreno received wide. The summer of 2049 brought significant infrastructure developments with the completion of the club's new Sports Science and Recovery Center, featuring technology that was years ahead of most competitors. The facility included cryotherapy chambers, altitude training rooms, sleep optimization pods, and biomechanical analysis equipment that could detect potential injuries before players became symptomatic. This investment reflected the club's philosophy that marginal gains in player availability and performance could collectively provide a competitive advantage over the course of a season. July 2049 saw Iron Forge invited to participate in the inaugural Global Super Cup in Tokyo, a tournament featuring continental champions from around the world. The club's participation generated substantial commercial opportunities in Asian markets, though these were pursued with the same ethical considerations that characterized all of Iron Forge's business activities. August 2049 marked the beginning of the 2049-50 season, a campaign that would coincide with the club's 150th anniversary celebrations. To honor this milestone, the club commissioned a special maroon and gold anniversary kit that incorporated design elements from key periods in Iron Forge's history. The season began promisingly with victory in the Community Shield followed by 4 straight league wins, suggesting that Patel's squad had fully absorbed the lessons from the previous campaign. September brought the commencement of the Champions League campaign, with United drawn in an accessible group that offered realistic prospects of progression to the knockout stages. The club's 150th anniversary was officially celebrated in October 2049 with a week of community events, historical exhibitions, and a gala dinner attended by legends from throughout Iron Forge's history. The centerpiece of the celebrations was a specially arranged friendly match against Bayern Munich, recreating the fixture from the club's first-ever European campaign in the 1960s. For this occasion, both teams wore historically inspired kits, and several retired Iron Forge legends made brief ceremonial appearances to the delight of a capacity crowd. November saw the publication of 150 Years of Iron Forge United, a comprehensive history of the club that became the fastest-selling sports book in British publishing history. By December 2049, United had established themselves at the top of the Premier League while qualifying comfortably for the Champions League knockout stages. The January 2050 transfer window was notable for the club breaking their transfer record to sign Colombian playmaker Javier Restrepo, a statement acquisition that signaled their ambition to compete for the game's biggest prizes. Restrepo's integration was immediate and impressive, his creative partnership with Harrington in midfield providing United with a new dimension to their attacking play. February brought advancement to the Champions League quarterfinals after a commanding victory over Dutch champions Ajax, setting up a mouth-watering tie against Barcelona. March 2050 saw the club launch its most ambitious technology venture yet, the Iron Forge Innovation Lab, designed to develop and commercialize sports technology that would eventually generate revenue to support the football operation. The lab's first major project was a revolutionary boot design that used AI to adapt its structure to different playing surfaces and player movement patterns in real time. April brought the climactic stages of the season, with United competing for honors on multiple fronts and showing no signs of the fatigue that had affected them in previous campaigns. The Champions League semifinals pitted Iron Forge against Real Madrid in a tactical chess match that ended with United advancing on away goals after 2 intensely fought contests. May 2050 delivered the perfect conclusion to the club's anniversary season, with a Premier League title secured with 2 games to spare followed by victory in the Champions League final against Liverpool. The 3-1 win in Berlin represented Iron Forge's 3rd European Cup/Champions League triumph, placing them among an elite group of clubs to have won the competition multiple times. The victory was especially poignant as it featured goals from 3 different academy graduates, vindicating the club's long-term commitment to developing their own talent. As the team returned to a hero's welcome in their hometown, the celebrations reflected not just the season's achievements, but the remarkable 150-year journey from industrial workers kicking a ball in their lunch breaks to becoming champions of Europe. The story of Iron Forge United had become a blueprint for sustainable success in modern football, proving that community ownership, ethical business practices, and long-term planning could compete with and overcome the financial might of state-backed rivals. Looking toward the next chapter of the club's history, Iron Forge stood as a living example that football could still be both a business and a cultural institution deeply rooted in its community. The words that had guided the club through its modern renaissance remained as relevant as ever. Honor the past, embrace the present, shape the future, together stronger. Following their Champions League triumph, Iron Forge United entered the 2023-24 season with unprecedented expectations and the challenge of defending multiple titles. The squad's core remained largely intact, with only targeted additions made to strengthen depth in midfield and defensive positions. The club's recruitment continued to prioritize character alongside talent, bringing in Mateo Fernandez, a Spanish playmaker from Valencia, and Kwame Osei, a promising Ghanaian defender who had impressed scouts with his reading of the game. Preseason saw the emergence of another academy prospect, 17-year-old winger Ellie Thompson, whose performances in friendlies convinced the manager to integrate her into the first-team squad. The UEFA Super Cup provided the season's first silverware, with Iron Forge defeating Europa League winners Sevilla 2-0 in a disciplined performance in Helsinki. Domestically, the team started more slowly, drawing 3 of their first 5 league matches as opponents adopted increasingly defensive approaches against the champions. October brought a minor crisis when captain James Mitchell suffered a serious knee injury that would sideline him for 6 months. The squad rallied around their absent leader, with veteran defender Thomas Nielsen stepping into the captaincy role and delivering a series of commanding performances. December's FIFA Club World Cup in Qatar presented a new challenge, with Iron Forge defeating Al Hilal and Flamengo to claim their first Intercontinental trophy. The mid-season tournament took its toll, however, with fatigue becoming evident as the team entered the congested winter fixture schedule. A shock FA Cup exit to Championship side Bristol City in January marked the low point of the season, prompting manager Elena Santos to rotate her squad more aggressively. This period of adversity provided opportunity for academy graduates, with Thompson scoring her first professional goal in a crucial league win against Arsenal. February saw a tactical evolution, as Santos introduced a more counter-attacking approach against stronger opponents, recognizing the need to adapt rather than stubbornly maintain their possession-based philosophy. The strategic flexibility paid dividends in the Champions League knockout stages, where Iron Forge overcame Bayern Munich and AC Milan to reach the quarter-finals. A war of words erupted with Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola, who criticized Iron Forge's more pragmatic approach as betraying their principles ahead of a pivotal league clash. Santos calmly responded that principles include adaptation and growth, before her team delivered a tactical masterclass to defeat City 2-0 at the Etihad, putting them in pole position for the league title. April brought the return of Captain Mitchell, whose leadership and experience proved crucial during the season's final stretch. A semi-final Champions League exit to Real Madrid ended hopes of back-to-back European crowns, but the team quickly refocused on domestic objectives. The Premier League title was secured with a dramatic 3-2 victory over Chelsea on the penultimate weekend, with Thompson scoring the winner in the 89th minute. The second consecutive league championship prompted joyous scenes at Iron Forge Stadium, with Santos praising her team's resilience and adaptability throughout a challenging campaign. Off the field, the club continued to strengthen its community bonds, launching the Iron Forge Tomorrow initiative that expanded educational and employment opportunities for local youth. The summer of 2024 brought significant change, as sporting director Marcus Chun announced his retirement after 15 influential years guiding the club's recruitment strategy. His replacement, former Iron Forge midfielder and Harvard Business School graduate Sophia Williams, represented a seamless transition that maintained the club's progressive approach. The 2024-25 preseason was marked by innovation, as Santos worked with sports scientists to implement new recovery protocols designed to reduce injuries during congested fixture periods. These methods were immediately tested when Iron Forge qualified for an expanded Club World Cup in the summer of 2025, adding 8 competitive matches to their schedule. Despite the additional workload, the team started the season strongly, with new signing Jonas Bergman from Ajax immediately impressing with his versatility across defensive positions. A significant milestone was reached in September 2024 when Ironforge fielded a starting 11 containing 7 Academy graduates for a Premier League match against Southampton.